So at this point, after a little bit, like around 2 months, I have decided it is time to finally make a speaking video. So my name is Barış Altun. I have been lifting weights since 2019, and after a while, I believe I have reached a certain strength level that I wanted to implement. That's what I have obtained so far in different areas, such as initially I have wanted to start with jumping, and now I have decided perhaps I can try a new YouTube journey with at least starting with uploading my training, and then I want to actually start with sharing what I try to improve myself in this environment, in these trainings. This is the main area that I train. This is basically the parking lot of my own house. And here is what I do, the initial parts of my jump training. Today I will go over some of the stuff I do during my jump training. I will show you what I train, what particular parts that I focus on during my training, and what are the places and equipments I use during my training, and that will be a template for my future videos onwards. Before starting my training today, I just want to mention one point, and that is part of the camera work. During camera work, the first thing I want to focus on is, especially during either in my jump training or my lifting training, is basically making sure the camera focuses on what I am trying to work that day. In this case, as you can see, there is this package, and in this part there is this water bottle just almost just outside the frame of the camera. Today I intentionally put them inside the frame to show basically how I determine what area I can work during my jumping, so that I can give you the full picture of what I am doing. Okay, starting with warm-up. Warm-up is actually an interesting concept because there are usually, when we talk about warm-up, there are usually two different concepts. One of them is what we call a dynamic warm-up, which is basically making sure that the joints are worked and warmed up during the process. And the second concept is what we call stretching, which usually tries to improve the flexibility of the tissues before or at a separate time of the work. In our case, it's usually a better idea to do some warm-up before starting the exercise for two reasons. One of them is making sure that at that time you are able to do that exercise. Basically, making sure that your joints are not particularly damaged and your muscles are still functioning at the strength level, etc. And the second part of doing your warm-up is basically remembering and getting to the small details of that particular movement you will do before doing the most extreme version of that movement that you will perform at that day. Now, for stretching, right now stretching is a little bit more controversial concept because we know that stretching is not necessarily improving the performance if it is done before the exercise, as it has shown to decrease basic strength production during an exercise. However, if you have problems with flexibility of a particular movement, especially at an advanced age or after some injuries, it may be an option to make some stretching to enable flexibility at that range of motion before the exercise. So in case of dynamic warm-up, it is better to do dynamic warm-up before starting your workout, and stretching, it is more an individual choice. For me, I do very little dynamic warm-up in most of my liftings because I already repeat some of the movements for a long time, so I am well aware of what are my limitations on most of these movements. And for stretching, at this point I have most of the mobility that I require, but I still prefer to do some hip stretchings before jumping to especially improve my jumping performance when I need to reach to a high object with my feet. Okay. So started with some jumps. I like to work some of my hip flexors before the jumps. Before continuing, I want to mention that what I usually do is around 30 or less repetitions. I don't want to tax my basic endurance too much, but I just want to do the repetitions enough to feel some of the basic work on my joints and muscles. This is not for basically stretching the quads. Basically trying to draw my legs as much as backward possible. It is important to make sure that your knees and ankles are somewhat in good condition before jumping, so it's better to test with that with some squats. I like to add some also hamstring and glute stretches. One of the practical ways to do is some basically air good mornings. As I mentioned, I just prefer some of the stretchings around hip area. One of the stretches I prefer is basically stretching both abductors and the flex. Hip extensors. The ideal wait time of the stretches is outside the workout is usually suggested is around 1 minute. I will share the appropriate resources with the following videos. But since this is before my workout, I just want to keep like less than 30 seconds. This is also one of my favorite hip stretchers, as it puts me my hips to stretch position without necessarily extending my legs. You can adjust also the difficulty of this stretch by basically deciding how hard you want to push to your legs, compared to the other stretches that you may need to put yourself into more and more compromised positions. I would like to also, this for just training some very basic balancing before the jumping parts. Ideally, you should be able to balance on your foot with no issue. I cannot say that is true for me, but hey, I'm trying this. And finally, I want to finish with my stretching my calf standing. For that, I can basically put my calf in a flex position and on foot. We don't need necessarily support, we can just do it standing. By basically pushing to our calves here. As you can see, I am trying to push into my heels, but it doesn't necessarily touch the ground. I can maybe show it better here. Now I will start my exercises with some of the small reach jumps. Okay, I will make a separate video discussing reach jumps and the idea behind the technique for reaching basically improving jumping performance, but that will be a different video. Right now I will just want to start with small jumps. The idea behind measuring your performance in reach jumps is basically finding an area that you have a lot of objects that you can run, jump and reach safely. In this case, the ceiling is not very high, so I can just reach to the ceiling directly. But there are also, as you can see, there are these pipes, there are signs and other low-reaching objects. Starting with pipes, we can try to reach with our hands. I prefer to start with small jumps and then basically try to get to the higher objects. If you have no issue reaching with your hand, you can start reaching with your knuckles or the palm of your hand or any other basically inner parts of your arms. Okay, let me do it better this time. Now we have basically added around, right now not necessarily visible, but 10 centimeters of more jump height. So this is right now around my limit of what I can jump. So let me show off some of my performance. Okay, let's start with a more easier object perhaps. You see that I touched that. Okay, that didn't work. I will try to make one more rounding jump. I usually do basically repetitions around half an hour for until I cannot reach to the same performance anymore. Although there are some other athletes, they will probably tell that it may require more repetition. So right now the number I have reached is basically one jump training per week. I'm not necessarily saying this is the most optimal training frequency or volume. Right now, this basically I just got this principle from kind of transfer the principle from my lifting. Although I will in my following videos I will delve into the existing practices and theory in more detail. And I will also try to compare those existing practices and what I have chosen and why I chose it. And then we can discuss those points more in detail. So, it's visible that right now I am having some reached my performance for today, probably a little bit cooled down. So right now, for that reason, now I will continue with other jump training exercises. After my usual reach jump exercises, I usually try to switch to depth jumps. In my case, depth jumps, I usually try to get into a significantly high height and get to a point where I can still stand without my knees completely buckling to the astograss limit. Okay, I must admit, conditions are not right now the best for making a recording because it's a very sunny day, so it's a little bit difficult for the camera. But so I tried to turn the camera to the direction of the wall, and right now the sun is roughly above our head. I will show some of the depth jumps from this wall with increasing steps to the bottom. And also, in order to keep the stimulation for both legs roughly the same amount, I will also try the same from the other wall as well. Ouch. So this was one of my initial training spots. I'm not really using this spot that much because the ground just slips a little bit, and also it's a little bit, as you can see, harder to put a proper camera stand here. But this was the area basically I have been using these stairs for more calf specific jump training. Basically, I was trying to do imitate what is called different forms of drop jumps. So it's an interesting training part that actually being able to absorb different impacts. It's a little bit, the mechanism is significantly harder in backward traction because you cannot exactly access your hips the same way, as you cannot bend over too much. So that actually is my initial preferred method of calf training. I want to mention one point that the jump training is primarily about being able to put the highest effort into your each movement, so it's not necessarily supposed to be hard for your endurance. But in terms of these basic small movements at the end of the exercise, I would like to also load my tissues a little bit. And because each movement is not so significantly difficult, I would like to actually increase the repetitions similar to the warm-up, like maybe around 30 jumps, or basically to a level that my tissues start to really feel the impacts. Yes. Well. Hard, but absolutely possible. Partially possible. Okay, the same exercise will not be, of course, possible the third step, so now I will switch to a simpler version. Instead of basically jumping directly back, I will do basically two steps separate, but since I have already done some of the wall jumps and leg jumps and this at a significant height, I will try to do some basically side jumps instead of just loading my body on the front back direction. I want to do some side hopping, for example. So I will finish today with some good old Masai jumps as I want to still add some additional load into my calves. I will just wait one set until I get sufficiently basically tired that I cannot do with the same performance anymore. And then we will conclude the video today. So, this was my first try. In the next videos, I will first explain what I was trying to do today, and also I will make some additional comments to my lifting videos as well. In lifting videos, unfortunately, I will not be directly talking during the videos because they will be on the gym, but I can make additional comments after the video is over. So, see you in the next video.